right, there we go. Original V&T. Welcome. JAYSTRAYS episode 31. We're catching the V&T here. We're going to catch the diesel rig. Oh, here he comes. I think our ride's coming. Oh, there he is. Let's catch him on his way over here. So, Stream Train's another train that just pulled up. He's down the tracks. We're not taking him today. He's down there, we can hear him. We're waiting on the diesel. So he's on the other line. So this has got to be the diesel engine, which is the one we're going to be taking today. Episode 31, JAYSTRAYS. Very historic Virginia City at the passenger depot. You can take a look around. Yeah, the original V&T. Some ore carts. That looks like a furnace cover. Look at this old stove. Whoa. Look at this. If I am good, please tell others about it. That's JAYSTRAYS. If I am good, please tell others about it. JAYSTRAYS. It's train video number 4, episode 31. Thanks for joining me. We'll be riding soon. We're waiting on the train to pull up. The V&T 2-man. That's how they got down the line to repair. Chicago, Burlington, Quipsy, Cupola caboose. Oh, we have another period car. Got the Canary too. Good old V&T support wagon. Western Pacific. And a Cupola caboose. Some freight ready to go. Oh, Sacramento Northern Cupola caboose. Built by the Pullman Company in 1960. We got some ancient maps, Virginia City. Hey. Alright, so we're getting all the good stuff here. Good little model train sets. Oh, you got the Virginia Truckee, miniature Virginia Truckee. Another early Virginia City tenement picture. Official Virginia Truckee embossed light fixtures. Story County in 1875. Look at that safe. Old school. Nice, they got some train pictures. Harper's Daily. Virginia City to San Francisco. That's pretty sweet. There she blows. Got the electric train. That's the one we're going to be getting on. Oh yeah. JAYSTRAYS episode 31. Look at this bad boy. Brilliant. JAYSTRAYS episode 31. Time to take a ride on the train. Looks like they're getting ready to pull out.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome aboard the Virginia and Truckee Railroad. This was by far the most famous short line railroad in American history, and it was also the most profitable one too. We're gonna have a great trip going down to Gold Hill and back. We've already had like 5 of them. The weather's perfect today. We're gonna have a very safe trip because we have 2 safety rules. Kids, don't let these adults stand up. They're gonna want to. Trust me, they're gonna want to stand up. And then you know what else they're gonna want to do? They're gonna want to stick their hands and arms outside these cars. Don't let them do that either. We're gonna go through areas where the tolerances are just incredibly close. And I don't want to scare you, but I don't want to give them away yet either. So if you make these adults keep their hands and arms inside the cars, I'll get them back here with all of these very expensive iPhones intact. And the last thing is not really a rule, it's just kind of it's a line. So if anybody has any cheese, now's the time to bring it out. I am enjoying these horrible allergies because of that yellow-topped rabbit brush. Anybody else? Runny nose, watery eyes, horrible. And it's going to keep doing that until we get a real hard frost, and then it kills it. So anyway, what I'm saying is I may lose my voice. I can't shout over the top of you, so if you'll hold your conversations to a dull roar, we're going to get along really well. All right, if I haven't scared you completely off, think we ought to get it underway? Okay. Okay. Now, the next thing I have to do is come all the way down to the end of the train, and the reason for this is the engineer can't see the very back of the train. So I come down here and I keep a real strong eye out all the way down to Gold Hill. You guys are in luck. I just had cataract surgery. Now I can see stuff before we hit it. Serious. And if you haven't had cataracts, don't worry. You will.
Got the beautiful depot in the background. One of the oldest churches, going back to the mining days of the Comstock lode in the background.
This old railroad was first built way back in 1869. That means this year we're exactly 155 years old. Now do me a favor, take a real good look at that engineer and then look at me. No, we were not part of that original crew. The Bank of California actually had no choice. They had to build this railroad because they had repossessed too many mines. Now they had to have a way to get the ore from those mines all the way down to the Carson River Canyon, because that's where they would also build and own the only hydraulic stamp mills. Prior to having this railroad, that little trip from the mines to the mills could take anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks by horse and wagon. If you can see me, I'm pointing to the east. In just a minute, about 1,000 yards to the east over there, you're going to see a very large pile of dirt. It's a dead giveaway. It's a very deep mine. They started digging that mine in 1875. They called it the Combination Mine because it actually was a joint venture of 3 individual companies. Those 3 companies worked together in that mine for 10 years. It's not true. They worked together for maybe 10 minutes. After that, every day was contentious. There was no cooperation at all. And that's why they never made any money. They spent all of their money digging just like great big places to put the water pumps. When they quit digging over there, they were only 30 feet short of being the deepest mine shaft in the world. 3,265 feet deep. Every single day they pumped 4 million gallons of water out of the bottom of the mine just so they could go deeper. The day they quit pumping, within 36 hours, so much water flowed back in. It actually rose up to a depth of 2,400 feet. So it completely flooded all the other mines right here below it. So what they ended up with over there was the deepest, most expensive, and totally worthless well in the entire world. A couple of things did come out of it. They actually decided to start using steel safety cables. Prior to that, they just cram all of the miners into a big ore bucket and then drop them down to the bottom of the mine. What could go wrong? Also, they finally came up with the idea of compressed air drilling. That was the best thing that ever happened to these miners, because now they no longer had to stand in those hot mines and swing a pick all day long. Last but not least, they tried square set timbering, which made them much safer. They could go much deeper and utilize the dead rock or the waste rock to help keep the timbers in place. This steel building right here to the east is the Comstock Gold Mill, one of the very last stamp mills made. Now we're going to go under a little wooden trestle. You guys have to have music to do this game. This trestle was placed here because there were mines on both sides of the tracks, and this allowed the miners to push their small ore cars right over to the center and then dump them into the large cars. You're going to see a bunch of boulders out here. You know why they're there? Because they were too big for the small ore cars. They'd come up out of the mine and they'd just kick them off to the side. If I had a pick and a shovel and some desire, I'd go to work right there. I guarantee you there's gold. A couple of superintendents working in the 2 mines here were John Mackey and James Fair. They grabbed 2 more of their good old Irish buddies, William O'Brien and James Flood, and the 4 of them went uptown. And they very quietly began to purchase old abandoned mines all around the Consolidated Virginia mine. And that's where exactly 34 days later, they would discover what everybody would call the Big Bonanza. They found a ledge of silver ore 40 feet thick. Set a world record. It's never been broken. At the time, silver had been assaying at about $8 a ton. Almost overnight, that price skyrocketed to $1,100, and that made John Mackey very happy, because it also made John Mackey reputedly the wealthiest man in the world. Later, he would be very instrumental in the construction of both the transatlantic and trans-Pacific telegraph lines. Also, Mackey would earn the nickname the mining millionaire of the Comstock, because even after he had those zillions of dollars in his hands, he would still occasionally go down into his mines and work right alongside his crews. I think he could do that because of where he was born and raised. Are you guys familiar with an area of New York City called the 5 Points? The worst slum in the entire nation for decades. Well, that's where he was born and raised. Right now we are entering Tunnel 5. Well, this used to be Tunnel 5. This was a 97-foot tunnel. When the highway department was building the truck route, they came up here and they daylighted or dynamited the roof off this tunnel, and then they put in this little permanent steel crossing. The truck route's going to be that highway you'll see all the way across the ravine to the east. That's Nevada State Route 341. Last weekend, for 2 days, we closed it because we have a car race, and we do it every year. It's called the Virginia City Hill Climb, and it's always well attended by, normally it's even sponsored by, the Ferrari Car Club of America. I actually had one of the drivers ride with me last Sunday night for a 3 o'clock train. So I asked him, just for the heck of it, how fast did you get going over there today? And he said, I think I got up to 165 miles an hour. If you've ever driven on that little mountain highway, there aren't very many straight stretches. I don't know how they can do it, but if you watch them, they come around that corner. You can't even hear them until they're clear up here, and then they're out of sight again. It is the most incredible race ever. The locomotive took on water twice. Now, the only sad thing about this water tower is that it has never been, and probably will never be, like the one on Petticoat Junction. There's never been any good-looking women in this tower, I promise. You young people don't have any idea what I'm talking about either. No. Now this next thing I'm kind of always hesitant to point out. Right in here, pretty close to our tracks, almost underneath our tracks, there's a little hole in the ground. That little hole is 2,500 feet deep. It is the Julia mine right there. It was named in honor of Julia Boulette. She, of course, was one of just a small handful of what we're going to call sporting women. Now, sadly, she met a very untimely death, and the little coward that did her in was actually caught 3 days later. But he'd already spent all of her money, and he had pawned all of her jewelry. And now he was actually trying to sell some of her gowns. Since he did him a steak dinner. For a dime, he did a little half-pint vial of an elixir called laudanum. Laudanum was 90% alcohol and 10% opium. Why the hell doesn't CVS sell that? I wouldn't mind waiting in line for that 4-foot receipt if I got to leave with the laudanum. Here's our first real tunnel. This is tunnel number 4. It's 417 feet long, and it's definitely not our longest. Tunnel number 2 down in American Flat is 600 feet long. Hey, here's a fun fact about this tunnel. 3 years ago, this tunnel became the home to a mama bobcat and 2 very small cubs. Well, we just saw those cubs yesterday. They're not small anymore, they're huge now. If you ever had to walk through this tunnel, I would strongly recommend that you don't. You'd see the places where they can still just kind of tuck themselves away as we come and go all day long. You know what? I don't think they're ever going to leave here. because almost every single day, either rabbits or squirrels or chipmunks try to run through the tunnel. A little family of bobcats have never once used their Uber Eats account. That little dirt road right there is part of the original wagon toll road to Virginia City. That's how freight wagons and stagecoaches used to get up and down the mountain. In a minute, we're going to go around tunnel number 3, not through it. We tried for 2 years to open this tunnel up. Actually, one day we'd made a little bit of progress, so we went uptown to get a quick lunch. Came back, only to find about a 25-ton boulder had fallen right through the roof of a car, just like this. Well, we dragged it back out of there, and then we had to completely rebuild it. But now we can still use it, and primarily, we save it for our battle trains, which are generally around Labor Day. And we load the entire Confederate Army onto that car, and then we take them down to Gold Hill so they can engage the Union Army in a reenactment of the Civil War. Spoiler alert, I know who wins. I had a cute little couple from North Carolina. They tried and tried to convince me that the South had never lost that war. Well, the only thing I could say, bless your hearts. We all know what that means. There is what's left of Tunnel 3, and that's why we'll never go through it again. And that's why we're on this permanent detour, or shoe fly, going around that tunnel. But the good news is, this shoe fly allows us to work our way down into Gold Hill, and there's still some prominent buildings you're going to see down there. The first one you'll notice will be the long, sloping steel roof of the Crown Point Mill. It sits directly under the Crown Point Mill. When you get home, you could go on YouTube, look up that Crown Point Mill, and they'll show you exactly how they used to extract the gold and silver out of the quartz crystals. And they did it with cyanide. Apparently OSHA wasn't too near. The Gold Hill Hotel and Saloon down there is one of the finest of the West. That's the oldest hotel in continuous operation in the state of Nevada. They opened in 1861 under a huge canvas tent. 1861, that's 3 years before Nevada was even Nevada. The last building down there is the Bank of California. 3 months after they completed the construction of this railroad, the boys from that bank enjoyed a profit. $400,000 every month. Now in today's money, that would be almost $48 million a month. That's a pretty profitable little railroad. See this bell hanging in the tower? It used to hang above the Liberty Firehouse. It was located just down the street, about 3.5 blocks. Anybody want to try and guess what happened to the Liberty Firehouse? Wouldn't that have been a great story? Actually, one day, the snow began to fall and the winds began to get stronger and stronger, and all of a sudden, the firehouse just collapsed. All we had left is that stupid bell. 3 weeks ago, our crew had to come down and trim these trees. We realized they had grown out so close to the tracks, they were literally slapping people as we went by. And we're going to have to do it again. No doubt about that. Right up there over your shoulders are where the very first major gold discoveries were made back in 1869. And that's why the whole area became known as Gold Hill. That little depot that we just passed was sold by the V&T Railroad to Story County in 1948. Story County paid the exorbitant price of $1. 1948 was almost the bitter end for the V&T, and as a matter of fact, their very last revenue run came in May of 1950. The guy that built this reconstructed railroad was on that last train in 1950. That little depot has been completely remodeled on the inside, and we use it for a lot of great events. If you guys stick around till the Christmas holidays get here, we'll bring you back down on what we call the Candy Cane Express. And then we're going to stop right there at that depot, but it won't be a depot. By that point, it will have been magically transformed into Santa's toy shop. And guess what? You're going to see all of the elves outside building toys for the kids. And then Santa Claus comes out. He steps onto that platform and he greets every little kid on the train by their first name. True story.
episode 31. took the V&T diesel. So, you know, this is the 4th in our train series. I'm sure I'll bring you some more. We still have the steam train to ride. That'll be another event on another day. And here we go. Horsepower Incorporated, JAYSTRAYS.